But how did you set like realistic expectations for yourself in terms, not in terms of getting a client perhaps, but in terms of longer goals such as your career as a whole? Because maybe when you started out, did you have like a number in mind, or like, oh, I have to make a living by this when I'm this old, or something like that, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's something that I've always struggled with.
Hmm.
And I feel like every musician I've ever talked to has had a similar thing where they want to set goals, and then when they do, they're either way too lofty or they sell themselves way too short.
Hmm.
Very, I think it's just a very difficult thing in general. And I feel like, the people that are in the business world that do it, from, my understanding of it, I feel like a lot of people, even then, they'll like adjust their plans
Hmm.
as things go along, adjust their goals as things go along. But I feel like just as creatives, we have a hard time kind of quantifying a goal that ultimately is based upon some intangible art.
Hmm.
It's like
Hmm.
how do we use, it's like we're using, uh, we're trying to use letters to come up with like a number answer, or vice versa. Like
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
just doesn't really work that way.
Exactly.
So yeah, so for me, it's always been a difficult thing, and I've been trying this new system actually. Are you familiar with the one thing?
No.
I don't know where it's Jeff Woods. Sorry. Oh, Gary Keller. Yes, right. I think Jeff Woods is one of the guys that sends the emails out. But
Right.
the one thing,
Okay, cool.
uh, it's the surprisingly simple truth behind extraordinary results.
Hmm.
And really, what it's about is it's kind of like the 80-20 principle.
Right.
And kind of like focus on that, and really narrowing it down to individual, singular focus things that are going to really move you forward.
Hmm.
And this is just for like more general business. It's not really a music specific book,
Hmm. Hmm.
but one of the things that they have is they have a system called the My 411, and it basically you set your end of year goals for both the career and also like your personal life. But then it breaks it down, and then it basically has like this sheet, and it says like, okay, in by end of 2021, I want to achieve X, right? And then in the section below it, it says, okay, to achieve that by the end of this month, I need to reach this landmark. And then boom. And then below that, it breaks it down by the week. So that way you can kind of not just have a lofty goal for the end of the year, but also kind of like breaks it down like, okay, if I want to get to that by the end of the year, then by the end of this month, I have to reach that. And if I want to reach that end of month goal, then by the end of this week, I need to focus on this.
Hmm.
And it really helps you to narrow down what are the things that are actionable that you can do now?
Hmm.
Or let me rephrase that. What are the things that are actionable that you should do now versus things that are just like busy work
Right.
that take up time but aren't really moving you forward in that direction.
Hmm.
So that's been helpful so far. I've been doing it for like a month and a half.
Nice. But
Um,
how does it work in terms of setting a realistic goal, like let's say end of 2021? Because I mean, this, I think I'm just speaking for myself now, but my brain works like, okay, my end of, let's say 2021, my end of year goal would be, uh I don't know, let's say to have this many subscribers for the podcast, let's say. And then I set it so high that it's unachievable. Let's say like 1 million, that would be like,
yeah,
okay, I'm going to reach that goal. That's super exciting. But then that's why I shoot myself in the foot, because then I don't meet, I'm not realistic, I think. So do you know what I mean? How do you think
yeah.
about that?
So here's a question for you. So
Hmm.
and you can mute this part of the podcast. But so how
That's
many
fine.
subscribers do you have now? Like the last time you checked, like how many do you have?
Oh, it's a good question, actually. I mean, it's a couple of hundred
Okay,
across the platforms.
okay. So what you could do, I mean, so 1 million might be that's a big goal,
Hmm.
but the way that they kind of set it up and the way that I I don't know if this is the way that they want you to do it or if it's just my adaptation of it, but I kind of started a little bit smaller with my goals, knowing that I can always change them and I can always like beef them up as I start to see like what the trends of the results of my actions are.
Hmm.
So you could do something like, okay, well, if you want to get like 10,000 followers or subscribers by the end of 2021,
Hmm.
okay, well, that means that really by the end of January, you would try to reach like five, even just like 500
Hmm.
or 1,000, I guess, depending on like where specifically you are.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you can start thinking, okay, well, if I want to do that, then this week I should come up with a plan of how to engage, listeners of other audio podcasts that I really think would find some value in what I'm presenting here. Because you have some like really big names come on here. Like
Hmm.
it's not like you're just starting this out and you
No,
have like your buddy down the street who like plays in a bar band coming and
no.
talking about how to play a G chord in 3 different voicings. That's not what you're talking about. You have some like heavy hitters on here, so I feel like it's going to be an obvious choice for a lot of people that are going to want to listen to it. So it's a matter of, I think, maybe figuring out a plan of how to get it out to some new people.
Hmm.
And then you could say, okay, well, then also maybe next week's main goal should be to take a look back at what kind of episodes have gotten the most listens and the most engagement from, and maybe adjust, the not saying adjust the format, but like maybe try to get more of those. Like if you have more people on the business side that they're really into, or more on the production side, or more on the like instrument design side. So the way that they actually set this up on the My 411 is it's kind of like a little like 3 or 4. I think they certainly tell you to only do like 3. I'm pretty sure like 3 lines. So it's not like a to-do list necessarily. It's like the 3 important things that you could do this week, but you're supposed to do it in order so that way, essentially, if I can only get one thing done this week and I'll still feel productive, that's what goes up here. And then once you achieve that, then you move on to the next one, and that's just kind of like bonus, bonus stuff
Hmm.
you can do. So I think like as far as how to actually plan for something like getting your subscribers to like a higher number, what you could do is like, make the goal of 5,000 or 10,000.
Hmm.
Try this for that first month, and then maybe come March you realize, oh, actually the growth is actually getting faster, and I'm looking like I'm going to hit that goal by the summer.
Hmm.
Okay, so maybe I should bump it up from 10,000 to 15,000.
Hmm.
And you can like adjust it that way based on what you're doing. And or if you realize for some reason that that's just like a crazy high number, kind of try to curb your own expectations a little bit, knowing that you're still trying to beat that,
Hmm. Hmm.
but not setting yourself up to just look at it every morning and just like want to curl up in a ball.